What do you believe is the best solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is perhaps one of the world's most complicated international disputes. Two nations that exist in one split-up region, both having faced significant opposition from the other. The day after the establishment of Israel, the country received an invasion on all sides from its Arab neighbors. They were victorious in their war for independence, but would continue to face these kind of wars for decades. Then came their victory in the 6 Days War, which resulted in Israel occupying all of the West Bank, Gaza, and Sinai. As time progressed, they left Sinai for peace with the Egyptians, allowed much of the West Bank to establish a government, the PLO, and also completely left Gaza. However, since then, a jihadist group, Hamas, took control of Gaza, which eventually resulted in their invasion of Israel last week and the beginning of a Israeli-Gaza war. However, stepping away present war for a moment, there is a question: what is the actual solution to this conflict? The ultimate question here is that of what outcome would result in a viable and publicly supported solution for both sides? Hardliners on both sides often just want to see the other side cease to exist, from the river to the sea. But what do you think is a solution that both sides would both benefit from and support? Move Israel to the North Pole and Palestine to the South Pole, or vice versa. Please name a single conflict in the last 200 years where two warring parties were able to peacefully settle their war without lasting conflict, or without one party fully pulling out or admitting defeated. I can't think of one. This conflict between Israel and Palestine will never be resolved. I have the perfect solution that will fix two problems at once. To the northwest lies the island of Cyprus, split in two between the southern Greeks and the northern Turks. Just resettle the Greeks to Greece and the Turks to Turkey, and now you've got a vacant island with infrastructure ready to go. You can settle one of the groups, say the Palestinians, to Cyprus, and boom, now they've got a larger space and far away from Israel. You can even call it Palestine. I just want to heavily emphasize that this is a joke. The real situation is really too complex, I think, for Reddit to solve. Netanyahu steps down. Israel's elect a less hateful, more empathetic person who isn't far right but in the center. Hamas is wiped out. Two-state solution. With the UN strong participants in the negotiation. Contracts, agreements, restrictions put in place concerning both sides. Cut out all of the disputed lands in the area. Float it out into the Mediterranean Sea. And let it sink. I'm just sick and tired of these people killing each other. One unified secular state, Israelestine. Divide the whole country in plots at equal value. Every person, man, woman and child gets a plot in their name. Allow people to trade and sell plots to create preferred villages. For people who already have land, they can opt to swap their new plot for their existing land with cash in either direction. Loans and infrastructure are provided without bias by the secular state. In college, my solution was to resurrect Joseph Tito, and have him rule with the same iron fist that managed to keep Yugoslavia from falling apart for a few decades. That is to say, I have no real solution, other than to appoint a third party that doesn't care about Israeli or Palestinian, only about absolute loyalty. You start the problem at 1948, but it really goes back to 1917 and the creation of mandatory Palestine by the British. As soon as they committed to creating a homeland for Jews in Palestine, this problem was inevitable. Even the Zionist leaders admitted that they would need to ethnically cleanse the land of Arab natives, and were very clear that this would be a cruel act. If you can't recognize the decades of apartheid and land dispossession that went on before 1948, you aren't going to understand just how screwed the situation is, and keep running in circles around an unsolvable dilemma. Jared Kushner working with Israel to re-establish Jerusalem as the capital of Israel in 2019-2020 sort of sealed the fate of Palestinians. The Christian right would gladly watch them die. TBHIDK if it's possible at this point. X200B. Right-wing movements growing in Israel. Hamas in Palestine. I hate to be a doomer and I'm normally not, but seriously in this situation IDK if there's a solution that will not last for more than 50 years. At best 10 or 15. If we even, let's say, have the UN control Jerusalem as a free city where everyone of all religions can come. 'Cause then both sides will have a politician who will go Jerusalem ISOURS. X200B. It's unsolvable and nothing short of a miracle it will be if a peace deal ever happens. Move all the Palestinians into the country that gave them all citizenship, and then took it away. Maybe dirty bombs in Jerusalem and Mecca that render each uninhabitable and highly inadvisable as sites of religious ceremonies. Kids who refuse to behave and keep fighting over one or two specific toys tend to have those toys taken away. I know very little about the actual situation politics of it all. But I'm so tired of it. I'm a 54Y. Oh. Male in the US and it will probably always be a tragedy. I want them to get along and stop killing each other and everyone around them. They may never get along. But maybe stop all the killing. I'm an atheist. So from my perspective it all seems extra unnecessary. But again, from my perspective, they seem to have a very small worldview. This seems unfair. Because the rest of the world appears to shut down for their shit show. It would be expensive as hell. But if the international community could pay the Arab countries to take in the Palestinians and just cede Gaza to the state of Israel, that might be the best situation. Maybe even resettle some Palestinians in Europe and North America. Mutual land swaps that keep the largest settlement blocks in Israel. Remaining settlers can have Israeli citizenship and Palestinian residency but will live under Palestinian sovereignty and they'll probably leave. Palestinian state is demilitarized and has peacekeepers from the Arab world deployed but Israel isn't allowed to enter anymore. Right of return to the Palestinian state and huge amounts of compensation by Israel to refugees. Jerusalem divided with Old City under joint sovereignty. Returning to vaguely the 1940s borders with the world's most extensive peacekeeping mission to keep the two armed components apart. But to speak in practical terms, we're over the line and have been for years. Someone's genociding someone and the Israelis have bigger guns, so it will probably be them doing the genociding. The best solution for peace anywhere. Everyone just has to put down their holy books and realize that they are just people. The sooner we stop carrying torches for our ancestors, the better. Argentina gets a few $100 billion from the international community for a few thousand square miles of rural land with some coastline in 2 locations. Gaza is moved to one. West Bank to the other. West Bank and Gaza land is kept in a trust and sold off to Israelis to fund development of these 2 new countries.